All right, we're going to do chapter 1. The first one was the introduction. So, chapter 1, how light guides us. Whether in the intellectual pursuits of science or in the mystical pursuits of the spirit, the light beckons ahead, and the purpose surging in our nature responds. Arthur Stanley Eddington. At daybreak, in a large lake on the island of Palau in the Philippine Sea, a dance begins. Millions of golden jellyfish, each the size of a teacup, race east towards toward the light of the rising sun. Once they reach the sun's early morning rays, they halt. Then slowly, as the sun makes its way east to west, the jellies follow its arc. As dusk falls, these unique invertebrates come to rest on the lake's western shore. The following morning, the dance begins again. These jellies are just one of countless species whose life journeys are guided by the sun's light. According to marine biologists, humpback whales use sunlight, along with the stars and the Earth's magnetic pull, to guide their 10,000-mile yearly migrations. Despite ocean currents, the whales swim in a straight line, north to feed and south to mate, varying less than 1 degree longitude from year to year. Each fall in Antarctica, emperor penguins march single file on treacherous 70-mile journey inland to their breeding grounds. Once there, they pair off and mate. After the female lays an egg, she carefully transfers it to the feet of the male, who incubates it in the space between the base of its belly and top of his feet. The female then returns to the ocean in search of food. For 2 months, the males huddle together without food, balancing the eggs on top of their feet, while temperatures descend to 100 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit, and wind speeds reach 100 miles per hour. In this intricate dance, the males on the inside of the group move towards the periphery as their body temperatures rise, while those on the outside gradually move in to get warm. Later, after the females return and their chicks hatch, the penguins trek en masse 70 miles back to the sea as if they were one organism, each one a cell in an intricately connected body of life. In addition to jellies, whales, and penguins, many other creatures, ranging from butterflies to songbirds, that was in the reading today, take part in extraordinary migratory journeys guided by something outside themselves that is inseparably aligned with something inside them. When we learn about such feats, we often marvel at these creatures' amazing ability to travel from point A to point B. In the absence of maps, printed directions, and GPS technology, how do they find their way to these locations? Never varying their routes, never getting lost, never second guessing themselves, and never bickering with one another about the right route to take. I highly doubt that there's no bickering ever. Most of us only hear about these stories on the Discovery Channel or from documentaries such as March of the Penguins. But when we come upon this phenomenon in our own lives, it stops us in our tracks and makes us realize that we miss a lot of activity happening around us. When I moved into a rented cottage, when I moved into a rented cottage on Maui in Hawaii some years ago, I found a little Russian blue cat with gray fur and yellow eyes sitting on the porch staring at me. I learned that she was feral and that my neighbor Koa called her Pepper, and that she came by around the same time every day. I bought a few cans of cat food from the nearby market, opened one, and left it on the porch. She gobbled it up. So I left food and water on the porch each day for Pepper to come by and eat. This went on for months, 5 months, and we began to grow friendly toward one another. One day, I saw Koa carrying a cardboard box with Pepper inside. One day, oh, where are you taking her? I asked. I have a friend on the other side of the island who wants her. Oh no. The friend lived 35 miles away, and though I was fond of Pepper, I knew it was for the best that I was leaving for Europe in a few days. 3 months later, after a friend picked me up from the airport and drove me back to the cottage, I found Pepper waiting there for me. Surprised, I stepped over to Koa's cottage. When did you bring Pepper back? I didn't. Together we walked back to my cottage. Once he saw the cat, Koa said, "Oh my God." Then he called his friend and asked, "Why did you bring the cat back?" The friend replied, "I didn't. She ran away almost as soon as you dropped her off. I never saw her again." Amazed that she had found her way home at the very moment I arrived, I renamed her Lonnie, which means heaven in Hawaiian. Soon I moved to a new home and I took her with me. To us, such a journey sounds impossible, especially if we often find ourselves lost within an unfamiliar city or even just within a mall parking lot. In reality, we humans are equipped with the same guidance technology as jellies, whales, and these other amazing creatures. Birds, for instance, I find this one especially fascinating, but birds, for instance, appear to have a built-in compass in their eyes, as their retinas contain high concentrations of the light-sensitive protein cryptochrome, which affords them the ability to detect the Earth's magnetic field. But cryptochrome is not unique to birds. It is a prehistoric protein found in microbes, plants, and animals that helps control daily rhythms and the detection of magnetic fields in an increasing number of species. Some researchers believe that birds can actually see these invisible fields superimposed above their normal vision. It's wonderful, kind of fun because I've envisioned that. I've had that picture in my head before, um, of the birds seeing the invisible fields that you and I typically can't see. Humans were thought to have only five senses, while animals such as birds, whales, and turtles had a sixth sense that allows them to orient themselves during these long migrations. Mhm. Recently, however, a team of scientists from the University of Massachusetts Medical School found that the human eye also contains high concentrations of cryptochrome. What? Moreover, when the human cryptochrome gene is implanted into a fruit fly, after its normal magnetic sixth sense has been altered, it restores its ability to sense magnetic fields like its normal peers. These experiments demonstrate that human cryptochrome can act as a magnetic sensor, suggesting that we too may be equipped with such a sixth sense, aligning us with the intricate navigational system of the planet. One obvious difference between these animals and us, they do not override their inner guidance system with thinking. They do not question the arc of the sun. They do not choose to follow or not follow it. They do not trust the light, nor do they distrust it. They merely follow the light as it leads them to their destination. But this begs the question, what is light? It's a very interesting question. What is light? Since humanity's first sunrise, seers have wondered about the nature of light and suspected that this mysterious and all pervasive phenomenon must be fundamentally related to our deepest questions about God, life, and the meaning of existence. This is important here. Listen. The Bible tells us that life began with the dawning of light. and virtually every spiritual tradition identifies light with the Creator, speaking of the divine light, the light of God, and describing spiritual evolution as a process of enlightenment. Health and well-being are commonly thought of as emanation of light or glow, a radiance that cannot be described. Glowing physical health is primarily a function of the power of our inner sun, and our glow seems to increase as our awareness expands. At full illumination, this radiance becomes visible to the naked eye, which is why great actors, I almost said ancestors, are often likened to stars. And saints are traditionally depicted as being surrounded by brilliant halos and described as illuminated. Interesting side note here, the halo above the angels or these saints, it's an interesting rabbit hole, if you will, to research the halos over the saints in the pictures. All right, continuing on. Many of our verbal expressions also illustrate the countless ways in which light manifests in our everyday lives. We say that pregnant women are glowing, and when we feel inspired, we say we have a flash of insight. When someone is very smart, we say that they are brilliant. And when they have changed their beliefs or thinking, we say that they have seen the light. When we speak of a new idea, we might say a light bulb went off. When we want someone to calm down, we might suggest they lighten up. Scientists have also puzzled over the nature of light. In 1640, the Italian astronomer Galileo wrote a letter to philosopher Fortunio Lichetti, stating, "I have always considered myself unable to understand what light was, so much so that I would readily have agreed to spend the rest of my life in prison with only bread and water, if only I could have been sure of reaching the understanding that seems so hopeless to me." Around 1917, the physicist Albert Einstein wrote to a friend, "For the rest of my life, I will reflect on what light is." By 1951, he confessed that he had spent 50 years brooding, conscious brooding, trying to understand the nature of light, yet was no closer to the answer than when he began. In the process of chasing the mystery of light, however, Einstein developed the theory of relativity, wow, that's really incredible, establishing that at a speed of light, time ceases to exist. In addition, a photon, which has no mass, can cross the cosmos without using any energy. So, for light beams, time and space do not exist. More recently, however, quantum physics have described light as the foundation of reality. This is profoundly significant when we realize that quantum theory is considered the most successful scientific formulation in history, and that 50% of our current technology is based on it. Makes you wonder how long they've been doing it. But according to the theoretical physicist David Bohm, light is energy and it's also information, content, form, and structure. It's the potential of everything. We live in a universe that appears to be created and nourished by light. According to German writer and politician under the influence of light. This becomes obvious when we experimentally place plants, animals, or humans in darkened environments and notice that their vitality and well-being gradually diminish, bringing their lives to a halt. Without light, there is no will to live. Is it will? I don't know. We are literally robbed of the spark that propels our spirit. With such recognitions, the artificial distinctions we have between science, healthcare, and spirituality are dissolving, and each is being traced back to light. Mystics, scientists, and healers now agree, in their respective terms, that light holds the secret to human awakening, healing, and transformation. Yet we still do not understand what light is. Light is made up of photons, and it is believed that subatomic particles are composed of photons, which are the fundamental building blocks of what we call matter or reality. Photons are formless, invisible, and without attributes. They have no mass, weight, or electrical charge, and thus cannot be directly perceived or measured. That is why we never truly see light. And yet everything we see, hear, smell, and touch is made of photons. According to American polymath and author Walter Russell, not only is seeing a sensation of feeling light waves through our eyes, but hearing is a sensation of feeling light waves through our ears. Tasting and smelling are sensations of feeling light waves reacting upon mouth and nostrils. Dave Bohm took things a step further when he stated, all matter is frozen light. The quantum reality Bohm describes is founded on the simple principle: light and life are the same energy in two different states of existence: form, matter, and formlessness, light. In its formed or frozen state, light energy composes all the matter in the universe. Everything we see, touch, and measure. Bohm's statement refers to the transformation of light into matter. How light becomes life, its potential energy, described by Einstein's famous equation, E equals mc squared. What is just as important, however, is how life or matter once again became light. You might be able to more easily picture this seamless interplay between the form and formlessness if you think of plants and how they are guided and transformed by light throughout their life cycle. First, a plant sees where the light is emanating and naturally positions itself to be in an optimal alignment with it. This ability to sense different qualities and quantities of light is crucial to the plant's survival, as it ensures the leaves are in a prime position to collect sunlight with the least effort while guiding the roots towards the soil with ideal moisture. This miraculous process of a plant being in the right place at the right time facilitates the process of photosynthesis, whereby sunlight bonds carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O, to create sugar, the essential fuel that powers organic systems. When humans and animals consume plants, that bond is dissolved once again, dividing sugar into carbon dioxide and water. The carbon dioxide is then eliminated via the lungs, and the water via perspiration and urination, leaving only light within the organism. In essence, we live on sunlight. Plants absorb the formless energy of light from the sun and store it in their leaves. We eat those plants. We literally ingest frozen light, use it, and what remains is its formless essence, light. In the second edition of his book, Optics, published in 1717, Sir Isaac Newton says, "Are not gross bodies and light convertible into one another? And may not bodies receive much of their activity from the particles of light which enter into their composition? The changing bodies into light and light into bodies is so very comfortable to the course of nature, which seems delighted with transmutations. We respond to light like plants, continuously moving towards greater alignment with the light and the consciousness that underlies it, while interacting with the qualities and quantities of light that best support our physical, emotional, and spiritual development. We are all creatures of light. All right, I'm going to take a sip and then I'm going to continue. How light guides us. In this very moment, light is guiding your eyes to these words or that picture, illuminating meaning and creating a connection between you and this book or that picture. That connection is called presence. Without light, you would not be able to see these words. They simply would not appear to your eyes. Light literally brings the words to you, creating a sense of inseparability between perception and meaning. The light that brings you to the words you read also brings to light the people, situations, and opportunities required to spur our evolution. It takes you by the hand and leads you where you need to be and when you need to be there. Oh, I love that. And light's guidance has no side effects. However, we must remember how to recognize it. It is the same with everything we see. Light from the sun, from lamps, from fire, reflects off objects and interacts with our eyes, releasing energy and information about those objects, which are then magically transformed into an image that appears full of light. But it is not actually light. It is just a mental interpretation that we experience as brightness. Many people think of the eyes as two cameras mounted on the face, but in reality, they are elaborate and complex extensions of the brain. And each of these extensions is designed to both absorb and emit light. Each eye contains 126 million photoreceptors. Approximately 95% of these receptors, called rods, are distributed spaciously throughout the retina. The other 5%, called cones, are primarily compacted into a tiny area called the macula. Rods are extremely sensitive, functioning under low-level light conditions and responding to motion. Cones are less sensitive, adapted to color perception and high-resolution vision. Based on their design, rods seem to be able to sense things before our conscious mind registers their form. In fact, researchers from Rockefeller University and the Research Institute of Molecular Pathology in Austria recently demonstrated that the human eye can detect a single photon of light. Wow. Since a photon is the smallest unidentifiable unit of energy, this discovery clearly confirms that our eyes are designed to operate at the quantum level of reality, and our vision has been honed by evolution to function at its maximum potential. Yet photons are technically invisible. They do not create an image that the brain can see. Yet this minute amount of light still calls the eye, giving the new meaning to 18th century essayist Jonathan Swift's statement. Real vision is the ability to see the invisible. In response to this infinitesimally subtle invitation, the eye reflexively moves towards that which is calling to it. And it does this without our conscious awareness. According to Alpasha Bahadzri, I'm so sorry, the study's lead researcher, the most amazing thing is that it's not like seeing light. It's almost a feeling at the threshold of imagination. Cones impact things carefully when the situation demands it, but require significantly brighter light to do so. So when your optometrist takes or asks you which is better, number one or number two, your cones allow you to know the difference. As you can see, vision is primarily a global process that continuously aligns us with our greater whole and zeroes in on the details only when necessary. Our life experience Our life experiences are primarily the result of the ongoing interaction that links our eyes with light. The process of vision, our response to what we see, begins within a few quadrimil hold on, quadrillionths of a second after light enters the eye, enabling the information encoded in light to be transmitted to and interpreted by the brain and all the systems connected to, to it at light speed. We might think, look at that car. In reality, light bounced off of the car, attracted our eye, entered our brain, and sent signals down various nerve endings long before the thought, look at that, surfaced. Hence the wisdom behind the expression, it caught my eye. Yet rarely do we ask what the it is to which we are referring. My sense is that this it is the same light the Bible refers to as God, and quantum physicists describe as the formless bedrock of consciousness, guiding every step of our lives, the intelligence of life. Light guides more than just our eyesight. It also guides our breathing, our heartbeat, our sleep, wake cycle, and much more. The eye contains non-visual light sensing cells that are developed and functioning long before the rods and cones that process light into vision are operative. In fact, these cells may be present at birth, confirming that light entering the eyes directs our body's homeodynamic process from the earliest stages of life. When light enters the eyes, the entire brain lights up because the light does not just travel to the brain's visual cortex, enabling us to see. It travels along several different routes that involve the entire brain, significantly affecting all our life-sustaining functions, as well as our emotions, balance, and coordination, to name a few. For example, light entering the eyes goes to the brain's brain, the hypothalamus, which regulates the automatic nervous system, and the endocrine system, as well as our reaction and adaptation to stress. Using light activated information, the hypothalamus communicates with the body's true master gland, the pineal. The pineal is the same structure that allows humpback whales to use light during their annual migrations. Referred to as the third eye by Indian mystics and the seat of the soul by 17th century mathematician and philosopher, oh my gosh, Descartes? I'm so sorry. I don't know who that is. Deskartes. Hmm. The pineal gland, the body's regulator of the regulator, shares information about environmental light changes and the Earth's electromagnetic field with every cell of the body at the same instant of time. In doing so, each cell effortlessly, I'm getting tired, you can tell, upgrades and synchronizes its function with Mother Nature, bringing us to our natural state of oneness with no effort or thinking required. So when light contacts the body's energy field, it resonates first with the pineal. The pineal, acting as the conductor of the endocrine symphony that entrains the pituitary, thyroid, thymus, pancreas, gonads, and adrenals, translating light energy into electricity, magnetism, and eventually to chemical energy itself. It has now been confirmed that the order of endocrine entertainment in the human body correlates completely with ancient medical systems that describe the workings of the body's major energy centers or chakras. In addition to the visual and non-visual effects of light by way of the eyes, light also guides the trillions of cells in our body via the process called photobiomodulation, catalyzing a cascade of events that stimulate and/or inhibit cellular activity down to the DNA. This process reveals that when the cell's powerhouse, the mitochondria, absorbs light, it significantly impacts the production of adenosine triphosphate. So this process reveals that when the cell's powerhouse, the mitochondria, I'm rereading this on purpose. The process reveals that when the cell's powerhouse, the mitochondria, absorbs light, it significantly impacts the production of adenosine tryptophan, triphosphate. This is the energy used by cells to power the metabolic processes that create DNA. Ribonucleic acid, proteins, and enzymes, as well as other biological materials required to repair or regenerate cellular components, nurture cell division, and restore homeostasis. I find this fascinating because we're discussing this at Avanti Wellness Podcast, and I find those items really, really fascinating. All biological life is composed of and dependent on light. The term solar systems means of or derived from the sun. In fact, 98% of the sun's light enters the body through the eyes, and the other 2% enters by way of the skin. Thus, light is the primal nourishment for life. The body is a biological light receptor. The eyes are transparent biological windows designed to receive and emit light, and all physiological functions are light dependent. For example, routine exposure to sunlight reduces resting heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, and blood sugar, while increasing energy, strength, endurance, stress tolerance, and the ability of the blood to absorb and carry oxygen. After 45 years of investigating light and its therapeutic applications, I have concluded that the intelligence of life summons us through light, guiding and illuminating our entire life's journey. Light and life are inseparable. All right. See you for chapter 2.